A solid energy system on the North Sea is so much more than just some wind turbines and a cable to shore. A variety of sources, methods of storage, and of course, nature inclusive. That's how we make a solid system. Here to talk about this is Koen Donkers. Oh, yeah, careful. Hi, Koen, good morning. You're the Business Innovation Advisor at DMEC. What is DMEC?
DMEC is an accelerator in marine or offshore renewable energy solutions. So we're not solely looking at one type of renewable energy sources, but we really believe in an integrated system with both energy production from multiple sources offshore, but also storage, power-to-X, and a nature-inclusive design. So really have a holistic view there.
Why? Why is that so important?
I think it is important if we look at the targets that we want to meet, it's really important to not focus on solely one topic. I think the problems, but also the challenges are way too big to do that. So we really need every help that we can get. So also every source of energy that we can get, and also the supply chain and the whole system is needed to meet this challenge.
Is it like an ecosystem where the more plants and animals you have, the more solid it is?
Exactly, exactly. Of course, we need also winners. So in the end, of course, we won't have 100 or 200 technologies out there. But I think it's good, and we believe it's really important to have at least, some different monkeys.
In the end, the pigeons are always going to win. You're going to lead a session with people from across the value chain.
Exactly.
What are we going to do this session?
I will start telling you a bit more about Dutch Marine Energy Center and try to not repeat myself too much, but I'm sure I won't. I will also announce a new project that we have about Earth observation, so using satellite data for a whole wide variety of activities. And after that, there will be the main, I would say, the main guest of the session. We have 4 really good speakers, 3 from the field of marine energy, so 2 developers, technology providers of tidal energy, and 1 from floating offshore solar. And in the end, we get the perspective from a big market player, Arno Wijers from Total Energy, what his take is on the market and where we want to go. Because we are really looking for the best product market fit. So we need everyone, from developer to market.
And that all within 55 minutes.
Exactly.
Good luck. Here's your clicker. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, welcome. Thanks, Guy, for the very nice introduction. And it's really good to see all your awake faces, I'm ready to kickstart your day a bit here in the coming hour. Of course, we have a morning session, but I'm really quite happy to see so much seats filled yet. I'm sure still a couple of the empty spots will be filled in no time. Let's start. As I already explained, accelerating offshore renewable energy, that's what we do at DMEC. I also already mentioned the agenda for today. I will do the welcome and introduction, tell you a bit about DMEC. Then we have 3 speakers, Maarten Berkhuis from Sea Current, Richard Parkinson from Younger Marine, and Emiel van Hemeldonk, DDAC Injection. And after that, I will have a Q&A or a little interview with Arno Wijers from Total Energy to get the perspective of the market on what we are doing as a sector. Let's get rolling. I think I've introduced myself now enough. Let's get to DMEC, Dutch Marine Energy Center. We have a pavilion here at the center of the floor. We are an accelerator, a non-for-profit organization. We've been around for 6 years now, and we are accelerating the sector. We do so by these 3 activities. First and foremost, innovation. We really want to get developers to the market because that's where they belong in the end. So we're advancing technologies. We creating business cases together with them, and so far we helped over 130 technology developers to get towards the market or even to the market. But what does this market look like? Because that's also really important. It's not our sole objective to push the developers to the market, but we really also want to see where the market pool lies. So we identify this market and we demonstrate the best product market fit. So together with market players and with developers. So that's, I think, also one of the key roles for the Dutch Marine Energy Center, that we really want to be the spider in the web and really want to be the connector there. We also looking at public affairs because we also need a favorable policy climate to get this all on the road and in the water, better to say. So we are shaping policies. We do so specifically in more than 5 countries on a detailed base, a lot of other countries as well. And we also do this on a European level, together with other sector organizations in Brussels. And yeah, we're not doing this by ourselves, so we are working with almost 100 international partners, and so far during these 6 years, we managed to secure 153 million euros of public and private investments for the sector in order to kick off. All right, I've been talking about innovations, but it's good to tell you what our specific aim is and what our specific innovations that we are talking about are. Marine energy sources, first of all, which is energy from waves, tides, but also floating offshore solar and some other modes. So we're also looking into wind energy, but then more in an integrated way to see which of these other renewable energy sources offshore we can integrate, for example, in wind farms. We're also looking at offshore storage and Power-to-X. With an increasing installation of renewable energy sources offshore, this also comes more into place and becomes more relevant. So that's what we're looking at. This can be offshore batteries, but also pumped hydro storage, for example, and obviously hydrogen in terms of Power-to-X, among others. We are not just looking at putting watts or megawatts in the water or megawatt hours if we're talking about storage, but we also want to do that in a nature-positive way. We are also really happy to see that there's much more attention on nature positivity. If I compare today or yesterday, better to say, with like 4 years ago or 2 years ago when I was here, I really see more attention to nature positive designs, and I think that's really important. So we as DMEC are looking at standalone innovations as fish hotels, artificial reefs, but also at nature positive designs, for example, of cabling or foundations. We're looking at use cases that we are busy with. For example, I will just pick a few of them also in terms of timing. I'm still doing quite good, I think. If we're looking at multi-source energy parks and tenders, here we see an example, a render of oceans of energy integrated in a wind farm. So this is floating solar integrated in a wind farm. The Netherlands have very ambitious goals set there, and we are really happy with them. So I also invite you to our pavilion later today to really see a display of how this future energy farm will look like. We're also looking at electrified and repurposed platforms. The good thing, and one of the, I think, also key USPs of marine renewable energy in this case is that it is smaller scale than, for example, wind farms, so for a dedicated purpose as, for example, electrifying a platform, but also, for example, powering offshore small grid applications such as aquaculture. It can be the solution. And yeah, because we're in the Netherlands, I want to point out the energized coastal infrastructure. Here we see the Tornado turbines in the Eastern Scheldt storm surge barrier over in Zeeland, where there's, we see a perfect fit of energy production, but also keeping the sea out. All right. For this, we use a lot of different information sources, and I want to announce to you projects that we will start next month, and it will be around Earth observation, so using satellite data for implementing all these innovations and running all these projects. Satellite data is a vital part and a vital link, for example, on risk assessment for offshore assets, but also site selection, planning to see if there are resources, and also design optimization. We're not doing that by ourselves. The project is coordinated by EOMAP, it's a German satellite data company, and the whole goal of the project is that we will deliver a tool which is easy to use for developers across the value chain and also across the chain of development for these offshore energy farms. About the two, we aim for 4 categories of users. So first and foremost, it will be technology and project developers. 2 of the developers that will use and will test and demonstrate the tool in the coming years are also here. I will give the floor to them in a minute. But also supply chain companies and governmental bodies, but also intergovernmental organizations, as for example, the International Energy Agency and many more. You name them. As I mentioned, this cellular data can be used throughout the whole process. So from suitability assessment, where there will be a first scan, if there are even resources available, towards site planning to see if there is a business case, what happens with waves, wind, bathymetry, you name it, from constructions to operations. Also long-term environmental monitoring, for example, during these operations will be possible and will be made easier with the tool, and also the decommissioning. Also after decommissioning to see, okay, what happens with the site where this plant was commissioned, and what's left behind of it. And then we create a positive impact, of course. All right, that brings me to my first guess, or not my guess, but your guess, I would say. And that is, I think, oh, sorry, I have to get the mic. That's Maarten Berghout from Seacurrent. Seacurrent is developing a tidal kite technology, a revolutionary tidal kite technology. Maarten is also a member of the Energy from Water Association, EWA, and he will, take you through his innovation, and I'm already excited for that. Thank you, Maarten.
Thank you, Koen. If you could pass me the clicker also, I guess I need that. Let's see what happens if I click and if I go in the right direction. No, probably not. That looks like me. Thank you very much, and welcome here in Amsterdam. Maarten Berghout, as Koen announced, one of the co-founders in Seacurrent, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on what we do in Seacurrent. And what we do is we fly kites underwater. And why that's logically, I hope you will understand in about 7 minutes. That's the time that Koen has given me, I think. So just to explain how it works, we got the flow coming in from the left, and the flow hits the wings. In this kite, here you see 10 wings. If you position these wings, because we can position them fully, 360-degree rotatable on a certain angle, the kite will start moving. And when wings accelerate through a medium, they create a lift force. We all know that. Some of you might have flown in by a plane, thanks to the lift force. If the plane runs over the runway, the wings create a lift force and lift the plane off the ground. What happens with our kite? It starts moving through the water and starts pulling really hard. And the traction force we use to generate electricity. The nice thing about tidal energy is that it's very predictable and reliable and everyday present. Here you see a cycle of 29.5 days, the time it takes for the moon to make one orbit around our planet. And after that, it takes the next orbit and the next and the next. And in that period, the position of the moon determines the gravitational forces it exercises on the waters in our oceans. So that varies a bit. One other nice feature about tidal energy, our system is fully deployed below sea level. So this nice picture of the lighthouse of Ameland is the view before installation of the kite, as well as the view after installation of the kite. So with the tidal kite, we want to complement the energy transition to provide more and also reliable power. The tidal kite has a couple of benefits. One important thing is that the whole system, I'm talking about the kite, the power takeoff system that converts the traction force into electricity, and the tether connecting it can be towed by small vessels. That means that marine operations cost, the cost to deploy the unit, get it to the site and install it, and retrieve it, are low. Another important feature with the kite, and I'll elaborate that on the next picture, is that we can harvest more energy with a single device. We have a low impact on the environment, and that makes up for the widest deployment potential, all these factors together. This image hopefully helps you explain why we go kiting. If you look at harnessing kinetic energy, energy from a flow, the key thing to do is to cover an as large as possible area perpendicular to the flow. And we see that happening with wind turbines. What's happening? They get bigger, bigger, and bigger. More surface they can cover, the more energy they can harvest. However, in water, certainly when it's shallow, you cannot increase the blade length. Here on the right-hand side, you see a frame, and you should imagine the sizes of this frame to be roughly 20 meters in depth and 100 meters in width. That is the frame that we kite through. So that's an area of 2,000 square meters. If you would install turbines in this same frame to harness the energy, you would need more devices, which is a higher cost for moorings and grid cables, and you would have leakage in between. We harvest this area with an approach we call 3D harvesting. So we kite from left to right, return at a different depth, and we've got our wings placed behind each other. So also in the flow direction, we extract energy at different points. So that makes up for the fact that a tidal kite can harvest more energy as a single device, which is also recognized by industry experts. Here you see an image of our half-scale kite that will be deployed near Ameland next year to deliver power. This is the power takeoff. So this will be enclosed in a watertight enclosure. It's a hydraulic power takeoff system with proven technology. A bit complex because we need to buffer some energy to retract the kite and for some other reasons, but I won't elaborate too long on that. Happy to take questions afterwards or in a bilateral. And this is the installation of the monopile anchor that will be used near Ameland, where we're 179 meters from shore at low water. Some notes on the environmental impact. Koen also explained the increasing importance and increasing attention of this. We know a lot in the Netherlands about fish safety of pumps and turbines, because more than half of the population lives below sea level. So we pump out a lot of water, but also a lot of fish. All that knowledge has been extrapolated and basically implemented in a model to model the fish safety of our kite. And that has been reviewed by the team that put this norm together. Actually, the fish safety is a NEN norm, the NEN 8775, if you're interested. We can maximize the speed to reduce the collision probability. And an important feature is also that we use a biodegradable working fluid. So in case of an event of a leakage, which we don't expect, we don't harm the environment. Also, we keep a safe distance from the seabed, so that if we kite, we don't affect the benthos, all the living creatures in the seabed as basis for the food chain. Yep. Well, tidal energy, given its reliability and daily presence, is much more valuable than wind and solar. Great technologies, but intermittent. And we see increasingly so the challenges that offers, negative prices. As a consequence, we're also talking about nuclear plants. We want to install nuclear to complement solar and wind. We believe tidal is a great alternative with a totally different risk profile. But we would like to be compared to nuclear on a cost basis. A lot of stakeholders ask us, when can you produce at 5 cents? We don't believe that's a fair question, because the market value of the product that we produce is much more valuable than the intermittent sources that can produce at 5 cents. Going back to the Blue X project and our, I'm not sure how you called us, but we're a use case or something like that. We're very interested to see how we can utilize satellite data. Here I listed some of the key items that we investigate for each tidal project that we initiate or that we support or that we develop ourselves. We also do that. In particular, the permits and monitoring, that is an area where we look at. We have monitoring obligations. One of the aspects in the monitoring realm of activities is automatic image interpretation, things like that. So we're very eager to learn what can be done there. Installation and, the red line is somehow shifted, but it should be around the feedstock. Every energy project, so we approach it a bit generic. We call it feedstock. In our case, it's flowing water. For new sites, for existing sites, it's key to know what is the water velocity, because that basically drives our system. So very happy to work on this project together with you, Koen. Summarizing, I think we have a low-cost system with a very high energy yield, the flexibility of the kite to position itself everywhere delivers a higher yield, and there is a higher energy value. Thank you for your time, and I'm here all day to take any questions.
I don't know if there are any questions already from the audience. So are there any? We have a couple of more minutes for them. Of course, Maarten will be around, I think, the rest of the day as well to answer any questions. Maarten, maybe I can ask you a question then. If we are looking, because we are also talking a bit more about market later on during this session, what do you need from market players and from the market as a whole to reach these goals, reach these 5 and 10-year goals of sea current?
We need many things, but the key thing I think for now is a recognition of the added value that tidal has. I mean, actually, I'm fairly happy with all the developments in the market. In the Netherlands, we have the highest penetration of solar panels. And we see, and we saw that in particular around summer times, of course, many hours with negative prices. Great that energy is for free, but that's a challenge. And in particular at the times when there is no wind or low wind availability and no sun, we need to find solutions for that. Everyone recognizes solar and wind is going to do the bulk, but we need smart solutions to complement them for a reliable energy system. And that's not only storage, that's also energy from water, like tidal energy. Yep. And yeah, we need a fair comparison in that. Also in light of the EU Green Deal Industrial Plan, for instance, we want energy security, which doesn't only mean to exploit local resources, but also to do that with local technologies from Europe. I mean, we don't want to exchange our dependence from Russian gas to dependence on batteries and solar panels from China, I think. So that's I think, what we need is what needs to be recognized and needs to be rewarded, and then we can bring this industry much further, all of us.
Perfect. That's an optimistic answer. I like that. Thank you. And I'm used to that from you, of course. Thank you very much, Maarten Berkhout. All right, our next speaker is Manager Director of Inyanga Marine, Richard Parkinson. Richard is specialized in project management. He's involved in the hydro-ring tidal turbine technology together with Takata tidal turbines, and has put more marine energy devices in the water than anyone else, I would say. Thank you. If you could stand there, Richard, that's better for the technology, I was told. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Koen, for the introduction, and hi to everyone, and welcome. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the challenges of tidal energy. I better get the
oh, sorry, the clicker. Second time I forgot it.
Sorry. Yeah, so basically, to introduce myself, I'm the Managing Director and Founder of Inyanga Marine Energy Group, which comprises Inyanga, we specialize in offshore engineering, design, subsea operations, and Hydrowing, which is tidal energy technology development. And we are actively developing tidal energy projects worldwide. And we also have 50% stakeholder in Takata, which is a Dutch-based technology developing tidal turbines, which are the world's most proven and reliable turbines. Basically, in terms of the challenges of doing tidal energy, first of all, we know that global providers and our customers, which is the energy companies, they want clean, reliable energy. We know that tidal energy can deliver. The mathematics stacks up. It's tidal energy density in a tide race is 800 times that of wind for a comparable velocity. And I think Maarten also previously outlined the many, many benefits of tidal energy, which I won't go into too much. However, having said this, the tidal energy sector hasn't really delivered. It's under-delivered. And I've been involved since 2006. And at times it's been a little bit frustrating. And there's a lot of reasons why it hasn't delivered, all of which can be solved, but I'll just briefly run through those. I mean, deploying in high tidal streams is very challenging. I mean, some of the areas we are working in, it's, typically can be up to 10 knots of current. Fantastic energy resource, but getting in there to work is very, very challenging and needs very specialized skills. Operation and maintenance costs, a lot of the developers went immediately to build very, very big devices. These are extremely expensive to manufacture and very, very difficult to maintain. So typically, to go and retrieve these devices from the seabed to maintain them would cost more than what that device would deliver in terms of revenue for a year. So it's not sustainable, and we need an alternative method, but that can be resolved. There's also been a lot of insurance claims in the tidal sector, people going in without really understanding the risk, and insurance premiums are very, very expensive for tidal. But I think we've been fortunate in that we do a lot of offshore contracting. We carry our own CIR policy, and we're able to get very low-cost insurance on the back of that. And I think I mentioned also about manufacturing costs. To build these turbines is very expensive. I'm going to build a 1.5 megawatt turbine. It's going to cost me around 8 to 10 million for the prototype. The cost will come down, but it'll come down too slowly. With Staccato, we can manufacture the turbines at a very reasonable price. The cost can really come down quickly and make for viable projects very, very early on. And I think the other area is considering grid infrastructure as well. A lot of the developers and all the projects to date have looked at putting in, nearly all the projects have put single cables from shore to each device. And we need to think about putting array architecture. And we are developing our own hub system, which is very unique, very quick, cheap, and easy to install. It's actually assembled onshore and installed in one hit. So a little bit about our HydroWing patented device. So basically, what's different about our device to the technologies, and how is this technology going to make tidal energy happen at a commercial scale? Well, the first thing is we integrate 2 turbines. We're using the new generation Staccato T3 turbines, which have double the amount of power output from the previous turbines, which were installed in the Eastern Scheldt. Essentially, the turbine is the same. You know, it uses much of the same ideas. You know, if it isn't broke, why fix it? So it's a single direct drive turbine. Very simple to manufacture. We have enhanced it quite a bit. Stronger shafts, stronger blade roots, and also we've doubled up the braking capacity in case we need to stop it. The other thing is we now put it on a brace structure, which is 20 meters high, because that's where the best current is. And most importantly, we've increased the swept area to 14 meters, which gives us 60% increase in yield. And we do this by using a passive pitch mechanism. So basically how that works is it allows, effectively, if you think of the blades as sails, I don't know if any of you are sailors, effectively what happens, we have a bidirectional blade, so effectively the sail tacks each time the tide turns, so that it's facing the most optimal direction, like a sail on a boat. However, as the tide picks up, the load on that sail, if you like, is increasing all the time. And what we actually have now is a passive pitch system, which actually allows us to shed a little bit of power as the current picks up. This means we can run a much bigger blade, have a much quicker pickup on our power curve, and this makes a substantial difference to the performance of the device. And it makes it much more viable in both in low current areas, but in high current areas it also protects the turbine from high currents, turbulence, and wave motions. And using this method, it allows us to scale up our turbines. So we can go from the existing 440 kilowatt turbine to up to 800 1 megawatt turbines by taking this loads out of the system. Basically, in terms of competitive advantages, one is it lends itself to scaling up through, we need scale to get the cost down. And with this project, we can really get the scales up. The turbines are manageable. They're 23 tons each with the blades, and easily transported in containers. We don't need specialist offshore vessels to install it. We use things like multicats or DP multicats that are widely available and reasonably cheap. I think the other important thing is the lean manufacturing. You know, we can build these turbines. We have a supplier now in the UK who can produce the turbines and the generators at very, very low cost. And the more we order, the lower the cost. It comes down, you know, by the time we're doing sort of 30 megawatt projects, we're looking at halving the cost. So they're reasonably affordable. And as before, because we have operated in the Netherlands, where there's a zero fish kill policy, the turbines have been proven and demonstrated that the impacts are minimal. So basically, in terms of where we're at in our development at the moment, we have been developing mostly in North Wales at a site called Morlais, which is off Anglesey. And this last year, we have been awarded a 10-megawatt grid connection, and we have been successful in the government auction in order to win a CFD for 10 megawatts in what's called AR5. That's the government allocation in terms of ring-fenced contract for differences. We're also going to be applying for a further 20 megawatts this next year and looking to expand this project to 30 megawatts. And this is a scale where we can make a really nice project that we can demonstrate to investors. We can get the IRR at a really good price that will bring the investors on board. And it's the kind of scale we need. We're looking to install the first phase, which will be a demonstration project in early 25, and then the later 10 megawatts will be installed in 27, and then 28, 29 we'll be installing the remaining 30 megawatts in parallel with a project pipeline in other projects in different regions around the world. Essentially, the 10 megawatts that we already have will produce around 20 gigawatt hours per year. So it's a really good energy extraction from, I would say, what we'd call a medium resource site. So that's basically everything about our technology, and very happy to take any questions.
Okay. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think so. Thanks very much, Richard. Are there any questions? Maybe one very fast question, otherwise we move on, and I'm sure you can find Richard as well on the floor later today. No questions? Yeah, thanks again. And it's really interesting to see the developments, also the more favorable policy climate than before in the UK. Really exciting what will happen there, and yeah, thanks for your work. All right, our next guest is Emiel van Hemeldonk. He's project manager at DMEC Injection. They're also part of our pavilion. And originally, it's a molding company of larger plastic products, but you are getting into floating offshore solar, or you have been getting, you already are in floating offshore solar. So really also interesting to hear that side of the story. I think the slides are up again. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Indeed, as Koen says, we are an injection molding company, and that's maybe the difference with our colleagues who are also studying solar at sea, that we do not start as a startup, but that we are an ongoing production facility with 40 major injection molding machines, and that we were looking at the task of solar at sea from the point of view of our production technology. That was the intake in our company. The idea of solar at sea is to optimize the space that is already used by the windmills, which is a lot of space that is used and that is useless, has become useless for the normal navigation. So the good idea is to optimize that space by filling it up with solar panels that are in a lot of cases complementary to the energy of wind. When there is a lot of wind, often there is less sun, but vice versa, when there is a lot of sun, there is less wind. And the big challenge, of course, doing it at sea instead of on lakes is the seaworthiness. That's a huge, huge challenge because it should also be capable to cope with the 100-year storm, for instance, which is a very hefty issue. And all of us, we are yet in the concept phase and the early project stage. So we still have to prove that we can reach that. That's still a challenge. And we tried to reach that by injection molding and extrusion. This is a close look how it looks like. We use extruded tubes, and we use all kind of injection molded elements like the floaters or the bumpers to connect the different platforms. We choose for a medium-sized platform. That means that some colleagues are going very high above the waves, 8, 9 meters high, huge platforms, which have, of course, a high level of seaworthiness. We choose for medium solutions that are more flexible in the movement, but at the same time we pay a lot of attention to the economical aspect, the affordability of it, because the affordability next to the seaworthiness is the biggest challenge. We must pay attention from the beginning that we are not always studying and making prototypes and testing, and that only at the end we are going to ask ourselves the question, is it still affordable? We must, as soon as possible, cope also with this question. We try to end up with island pockets, like as you see here. One element, one platform in this case is 11 meters, triangular, 1.5 meter above the sea level, and producing 4.5 kilowatt peak. The panels we are using are 100% plastic panels for the recyclability, no aluminum, no glass, because glass would be problematic if we have torsional forces. Seaworthiness is one point, but next to that we have recyclability. Recyclability, 100% recyclability is a big question, also a big criterion, and we can reach that because by using thermoplastic plastics, it is quite easy to, at the end of life, to recycle and reuse that plastic, which is of course not the case when you are using thermoset materials like polyesters. At the same time, we have the advantage of corrosion-free products. No worries with paintings, which is also an environmental good plus. The platforms would weigh about 1,000 kilo, so easy transportable and mooring in the sea. This is an overview. Then an idea of the output necessity. For instance, in Belgium, the government has yet the plans to go to 6 gigawatt output for wind, and they need in total 8 gigawatt green power. That means but there is no place for additional wind, so 2 of those gigawatts must be provided by the sun. 2 gigawatt is huge. 1 gigawatt, for instance, with this principle, would ask for 220,000 plastic platforms of 11 meters each. To produce that's a huge task. So we are with several players in the market. We all have our place because to get 1 gigawatt or 2 gigawatts in Belgium, to get in Holland up to 4 gigawatts, that's what the Dutch government is looking for, 4 gigawatts. To construct that's several hundred square kilometers that has to be filled with platforms. So at the same time, and I think that's a strong point of our proposition, is it must be producible and scalable. When it's too labor intensive, we won't make it. We will need several thousand people to construct within a time frame of 10 years, which is not feasible, I think. So our approach by injection molding and extrusion, we think adds an interesting bonus for those problems of producibility and sufficient output. That's more or less what I can say about it.
Feel free. Otherwise, I will just ask you a quick question about working in silos. You also briefly mentioned it, but what do you think of how the different developers interact with each other in the same field? Is there too much competition, or is this also competition that is needed for the sector to thrive, or do you want to see it like otherwise? What is your take on that?
I think there is a certain feeling of competition, but at the same time, we call upon each one to say, listen, there is no real competition because the demand, when it is economically feasible, will be so high that there is a place for everyone. And if everyone succeeds in getting 5 to 10% of the market share, that already will be huge. So our general interest, I think, is that when we are mainly platform builders, that we together look for a very sustainable and reliable electrification system, encouraging system, the cleaning of it, for instance, that's also a common interest. Those topics we should tackle together with the colleagues who are looking for solar at sea in order to be very reliable in the eyes of future investors.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. There's enough pie for everyone to have a piece. Thanks a lot. Then thank you. And also Emil will be around and he will also be at our stand for the rest of the day. He has a very nice display of his technology and he is more than happy, I'm sure, to answer any questions. All right, then we go to the last part of our session. That's the part about our corporate partnership program. So more on the side of the market. We as DMEC have this corporate partnership program since 2 years to really attract corporates to the sector. Yes, this one. To attract corporates to the sector and to help them overcome challenges. This can be challenges, for example, in floating offshore solar, if we are looking, for example, at tenders, but also on the other fields of the technologies that we know and the community that we have. So we offer them engagement with our communities, insight in the latest development. A lot of is happening and a lot of things are unknown to a lot of big players as well. And we offer them tailored assessment to see, okay, what is the feasibility of integrating a specific technology into their business processes. To substantiate that story a bit, I have invited Arno Weijers, who is Renewable Explorer of TotalEnergies, is a member of our corporate partnership program together with TotalEnergies. Thank you. Furthermore, he has after an engineer's degree in Paris, you have worked for 20 years in the sector, in Spain, Benelux, and in France, if I'm correctly. And now for TotalEnergies, you are a renewable explorer, and that sounds exciting, and I want to know everything about that. So I will join you at the table. The sun is away, sorry for that, but still very good to have you here. Oh, sorry, I will click through one more time to have that slide on. All right, Arno, tell me a bit more about your role as Renewable Explorer at TotalEnergies.
Yeah, hi Koen, hi everybody, very happy to be here. So indeed I am a Renewable Explorer, which might be a bit mysterious title for some people. You know TotalEnergies, we are a multi-energy company. We have a past in oil and gas, and we had exploration activities, and now we are exploring for renewable energy, so that's the reason. Basically, my job is to look for large-scale renewables in the Netherlands, looking at everything that's available, but also thinking about the future and the future technologies.
And how do you compare the atmosphere and climate here in the Netherlands in terms of these big innovations, also compared to the other countries that you worked in?
Yeah, we made a presentation a few months ago to the headquarters about the Netherlands, and we definitely stated that it's a country of innovation. It's a lot of things happening here, and you see it in the marine energy sector, but also in other sectors. So definitely a lot of people are looking at the Netherlands as a country of innovation.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And this is also something that you sense here on the floor, and also at the stories with the developers, that this is happening in the Netherlands?
Yeah, yeah, sure. We just had some very interesting presentation about how to harness marine energies, and you see that several options are possible. You see, the innovation side of it, which is clearly very interesting. Yeah.
And are these innovations also big enough for this large-scale vision that TotalEnergies has?
Yeah, I think there are some challenges still, which we need to overcome. But we need all those technologies. It's clear for us that wind and solar are now, today, are the scalable technologies which are used broadly. But it has been mentioned in the previous presentations also, to build a reliable system, only wind and solar will not be enough. You know, we have the famous Dunkelflaut, where there is no wind, no sun. We need all production profiles, and wave energy, tidal energy has a complementary and also tidal more base load profiles, which are needed for building this new reliable system. But still some challenges to overcome because, well, for example, in terms of wave energy, we have identified, I think, around 200 different technologies. So definitely what needs to happen is a convergence, like happened in wind and solar. The sector needs to come up with what's working the best. And that's when, obviously, companies like us will step in and roll it out scalable. But we're also looking at the innovation side for other projects. You know, we're developing a lot the renewable side. We want to have 100 gigawatt of capacity in 2030. So that's the important part of looking at the renewable sector. But obviously, we still also have oil and gas activities. It's 80% of the energy consumption in the Netherlands. And we still, even if it's a bit paradoxical, maybe we need to decarbonize that part also. We have assets around the world. And we are also looking for the decarbonization of those assets as at technologies like wave, for example, or solar.
Is there already electrification taking place at these offshore assets that you know of?
Yeah, we are working on several projects, indeed. I cannot say exactly what and where, but we are definitely working on some projects there.
Worth the try. No. And about this conversion, I think that is something that needs to happen. If we look at the wind sector from 20 years ago, we also saw many more technology developers and providers, and there obviously has been a conversion. Of course, also including some trouble, but it's, I think, also something that comes along with conversion because you're relying on a couple of players. Would you say big corporates or like yours will step in after the conversion or during the conversion or right now at the beginning of the conversion of these technologies?
Well, as I just mentioned, maybe both. For the part of decarbonization of assets, we can already use the technologies that are available, but for the large-scale rollout, we really need that convergence to happen. I think to start investing. There are some challenges also in terms of, it has been mentioned, the levelized cost of electricity is still not on par with other technologies, so that also has to be overcome. So there's convergence, there's the cost. But I'm really optimistic about those developments. Don't get me wrong, because if you read the theoretical potential of all those technologies, we're talking not about gigawatts, but about terawatts of capacity worldwide. I think the International Energy Agency said, and that's not theoretical, that's exploitable. It could be almost 300 gigawatt of wave, for example, in 2050. So there's a huge potential there to be.
We just have to harvest it.
Yeah, exactly.
And about Power-to-X, about hydrogen, what is your take on that? Because of course, there's also, I can imagine, a part of your focus. Also in the Netherlands, we see a lot happening, also offshore projects, also including floating offshore solar. What is your take and idea about that?
Sure, yeah, as a multi-energy company, as I mentioned, we have one big activity is the renewable power, but we call it integrated power, because it's not only about producing power and using it directly as power, it's also about converting it to hydrogen. And well, as you know, we also have refining activities. Today, if you want to, for example, to decarbonize the whole mobility and transport sector, you will need hydrogen, you will need methanol, you will need e-fuels. So we are also, of course, working on those aspects. So hydrogen, yes, is an important part of our strategy. I guess your question is more about offshore.
Yeah.
I think there are still some challenges of hydrogen onshore to be overcome, but obviously, probably hydrogen will play a big role, yeah, offshore. That's pretty sure, because you cannot use everything, transport everything as electricity. So yeah, definitely also looking at that, yes.
All right. And because we're talking now about your role as market player, the role of the developers, what do you see as the role of the government in all this? Do they have to take a stronger stand here? Do they have to support more? Are they doing enough? What is your
Well, they could probably do a bit more. Well, I think in the UK, the government is doing a bit more than here, for example. But I think it's starting. The Dutch government recently set a target of 3 gigawatt of offshore solar for 2030, which is very ambitious. But I mean, at least there's also a target. And obviously, if we take the lessons from wind and solar, we all know what has happened there to make it scalable is there was a big push from the governments with strong ambitions, but also strong supporting schemes. And probably that's also, we think that's also needed for those technologies.
And how does this compare when you discuss it with colleagues in other European countries? How would you rate then the policy climate in the Netherlands? So there are things going on, it could be more, but are we doing okay, or should we be jealous?
No, I think we're doing quite okay. I mean, how the Dutch government has been up to now is very successful in rolling out offshore wind and also stimulating innovation. I think we could do a bit more, but if you now compare to other European countries, I think we're doing quite well, yeah.
Perfect, all right. So we have to bridge the gap between the pilots and the large-scale rollouts, and we need like every hand to do that, from technology developers, policymakers, but also market player. I want to finish with one final question, and that is, what would your ideal North Sea or sea in general in terms of energy look like in, let's say, 20 years from now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
What is your dream, Arno?
Yeah, my dream in 20 years from now is that I hope we have decarbonized a lot our system. But the challenge of renewable energy, as you know, basically oil and gas is concentrated solar energy produced over a million years. We know the drawbacks of fossil fuels. In renewable energy, we need a lot of space to capture energy that's there at the moment. And of course, that's the reason also that the sea is an opportunity, because you cannot do everything on land, especially in a densely populated land as the Netherlands. So I think we need to be mindful of the use of space, and there it's very interesting to look at co-use of the space for production, for energy production. And also some of those technologies, tidal and wave, are much more dense than wind and solar. So that's really interesting in terms of co-use and the use of space. Of course, being mindful of ecology, biodiversity. But I think there's obviously a huge potential in the North Sea. I think the Netherlands, as an innovation country, can show the way. I also hope that it will not be just a Dutch story, but the whole North Sea cooperation between all the countries. That's very important also, because we're talking here about power, and power needs to be balanced, and interconnection are needed, and also alignment. So yeah, my dream would be cooperation in the whole North Sea with a combination of several technologies to have the ideal production profile and be mindful of the ecological aspect.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you a lot for this conversation and these last words. Thank you. All right, so an integrated energy system offshore, including all different kind of technologies. That is what Arno is dreaming of, and I think we are dreaming of that as well, and we are accelerating that and enabling that. And the co-use part that Arno mentioned brings me also to this little bridge, and that is that I want to invite you to join our conference session. It will be about multi-source offshore energy, so integrating different sources of energy in wind farms, and it will be at the conference session place over there at the entrance, and it will start at 11:30. And of course, you can also visit our pavilion in the center. It's hard to miss. Thank you all. I hope you have a really, really great day today, and see you around. Thank you.